I'm Blake Hargreaves, and this is Season 2 of Future Stops. We're very excited to be back, bringing you more of the sounds and stories of the 21st century pipe organ experience. We begin this season with the first in a series of programs exploring the rich history of organ building in Canada. Throughout the year, we'll examine the craft, the traditions, and the incredible music that has continued for generations in these magnificent workshops across the country. The pipe organ you hear is a 1927 Casavant at the Notre Dame Basilica in Quebec City, which is currently under restoration. Today, in this first episode of our Canadian Organ Builders series, we travel to Saint-Hyacinthe, Quebec, and speak with Dany Wiseman and Simon Couture at the legendary house of Casavant, a place where both of our guests never expected to work.
I was cowed. I really like to say that. Never imagined I would work here, actually. And it will be 30 years in January of next year. So Jacqueline Rochette was a classmate of me, was a bit older. And he really just called me one day and said, well, we do have a position here or opening. Could this be of interest to you? And my thing was to work in the academia. And but I said, well, why not? Let's try this. So I came for the interview, and they picked me. And and so it's how I started. As easy as that.
I'm afraid that my story will be a bit more complicated than Simon. So let's say, as I told you, I had my first organist job, a printed organist job in Lévis for 13 years, and then I came to Montreal. And then something happened. How to explain that? Just my path changed. So I was also used, I had a sideline. I was a choir conductor, and then this part of my career just took a bit more place. So I had more choirs to conduct, and then the orchestra came. So I just started becoming a choir and orchestra conductor for operas. I've also been a teacher at Faith School here in Montreal. So I was a choir teacher for 10 years. And suddenly, I think in 2011, I just kind of decided to play organ in concerts. So I was just having less time for practicing and preparing concerts. In brackets, you have to know that Simon is also a very good friend of mine. So we know each other for more than 20 years. So because he's from Lévis, and I was also the organist at Notre Dame de Lévis. So it's there we met for the first time, and we just became good friends since then. And I think it was just obvious for me that I was coming back to the organ world. So my first love always has been organ. I've been dreaming of organ since I'm a little kid. I was studying at the Petit Chanteur de la Maîtrise in Quebec City. So it's a boy choir school, and I've been in contact with pipe organ since I'm 8 years old. And I was I just remember the first time I've been in contact with the pipe organ sitting next to the big pipes. I was so impressed. It really hit me at the time. And this is what came back, when Simon asked me, so would you consider to work for Casavant? And I said, okay, that's a sign. I'm coming back to the organ world, my first love, my first passion.
Wiseman's passion for the pipe organ could not find a better place than the house of Casavant, which has a history that dates back more than 140 years, when the sons of a very musical family decided to try something new.
The firm was founded in 1879, by two brothers, Claver and Samuel Casavant. And so they ran the firm, all their lives, so for some 50 years. And after that, the brothers passed away in 29 and 33. That was a really tough time at the time, So there was the financial crash and then the war. And it's amazing that the team of people who succeeded them really were tough, really. They were really, kept the boat afloat. And they were very, very creative. We had to start making furniture in 1938, and small instruments that were series organs, and build new organs, reusing old parts and all of this. So that really took us up to the late 50s. And then, there has been a major shift in the tonal style of the company. From the late 50s, when Lawrence Phelps, became tonal director at Casavant. And that time, these few years, it's amazing to think that, the Casavant from 1957 and the Casavant from 1961 were built by the very same people. But, it's like two worlds. It was not the same firm anymore. So Mr. Phelps was with us, up to 72, and then Gerhard Brunzemer, who was from Germany, became tonal director. In the 70s, the company was sold, and we had a new ownership at the time that lasted some 40 years. And then here we are today, 142 years later. I think for a firm like us, to go through the different trends, I would even see the different fads of organ building and adapt and thrive. That's really remarkable. It's actually, for us, it's humbling, if I may say. So that's really, for me, after 30 years, what's the most remarkable to see when you look back, how Casavant and the people who made Casavant were able to adapt, to the needs expressed by the musicians, and were not dogmatic about that. And to see that today, in 2021, we're still thriving. We have much work, in North America, Canada, and the United States, and Asia, both building new organs and doing restorative work.
I wondered, when you talked about the German director who came in the 70s, if that was a response to the mid-century neo-Baroque fad at all that sort of swept through Europe at the time.
Yeah, we can see that. I think, when Gerhard Brunzemer, we have to put this into context. Lawrence Phelps, has been here tonal director from 58 to 72, was a big star, a big name in the organ world. And the style of organ building, he brought here at Casavant, that was the thing to do at the time. And with Gerhard Brunzemer, I think after Phelps left, it was a way to go further, and to probably also, let's say this, to be kind of more, try to find the word, to be more true, I would say, to a style. The German Baroque style was really in vogue at the time, and Lawrence Phelps had done some very, very good things. So with Gerhard Brunzemer, it was a way to go further in that. But interestingly, the first, I would say, quote to quote, French style organs we built in the 1970s were designed by Brunzemer. And right now we're restoring, the large 78 Casavant St. Peter Cathedral in Erie, Pennsylvania. And it's really remarkable. I remember the first time I visited there, I had some expectations, for a sound, but I was not expecting a sound that was so not German from 1978. So I really feel even if Mr. Brunzemer has not been here for many years, I feel that his legacy here should be known more and better.
Every person who contributes to pipe organ building in Canada leaves a unique legacy to our shared cultural heritage. It's this heritage, going back to the beginnings of European settler culture, that firms like Casavant felt they could draw on to forge a new tradition.
I think, in a town like here, and everywhere, I think in Quebec and across Canada, there was woodworkers. People knew how to hold a hammer and a wood cutter. So I think picking up on these skills, the kids were learning at home basically. And metal workers, the same thing, So, like Joseph Casavant, we know, was a blacksmith. So we knew about soldering. So to make pipes, you need the solder. In Quebec, I think, it also started, there's a story here, because when Samuel Warren came from Boston in 1836, I think, he was the builder at the time, except that he was Protestant. So the clergy in Quebec really didn't like that. And so the year after, that school, that's really where it started here, in Sainte-Thérèse. There's a Father Ducharme there who started a school for organ building and invited people. So it started Joseph Casavant. Arrived there at the age of 37, but the very same year, actually, Louis Mitchell started in Sainte-Thérèse as a student. So they all know each other. They had that shop and they built some organs around, like in Laval. Joseph Casavant moved to Ottawa with some people. So it's really how it started. And of course, the church was flourishing here. So there was a very interesting opportunities. When you travel in Quebec, you go to these country churches with these larger instruments, and there was some pride there.
And now, with the new technology of this century, there must be some kind of adaptation that's happening. And how, as a company, do you find a vision to incorporate the new technologies into the organs?
Yeah, so there's a lot of way to incorporate new technologies. Of course, we won't change the way a pipe organ is built. It's basically we start from scratch, like it is well explained in the D'Ambedos treatise. It's always built in the same way, but now with the new technology, it really allows us to make more things, to give more flexibility to the instrument. So let's say, for example, with all the new electronic systems now developed by companies like SSOS or Syndyne Company, now we can ask for special programmation. And so let's say we can do basically whatever we want. So now if you, for example, want to compose your own cornet on the organ, so of course you have a 3 ranks or 5 rank cornet, but now where it goes, it's you can take a stop from a division with another division, another stops, and then it's like a computer, you can do whatever you want. So now it goes far like that. It also simplifies the life of the organist. And so recently we also have installed page turner, Bluetooth page turner, so which I found really fantastic. So now you can play, so more musicians now play with their iPads, with their tablets, Android, things like that. So you can have your music score, and then you have a toe piston, and it flips your page. It's fantastic. So no more page turner, no more assistance on your left and on your right. So the combination systems now are really, really well developed, and it allows things like that.
This combination of old world craftsmanship and new world technology is on full display in their current renovation of the organ at Notre Dame Basilica in Quebec City, a complex project seeking to preserve the many phases and styles the organ has adapted to over the years, while also restoring the sound of the original 1927 instrument.
Well, there are many things, actually, so to develop the plan for Quebec City was a team effort, really. So I've been in charge, of developing the plan with the organist, with Marc Danjou. And I really, our tonal director, Alain Gonneau, played a big role in that, in assessing the condition of the pipe work to see what can we do with the pipes in the condition they are. And so that was really a team effort we made together to come with a plan that works. And of course, in workshops, our other craftspeople have a specific role in the project. So right now, the voicers are working hard, to complete some of the tonal work. The people refurbishing the console are making good progress. We've received the solid state system that we will wire. But that's really, I think, all the I would say the cumulative experience we have here, all of us, building new organs and doing all types of restorative work, from historic restoration. So we know this Casavant from the 20s very well. But also, we have rebuilt instruments, refurbished, tonally enhanced existing pipe organ. So all that experience put together really helped to develop a plan that we knew, even on paper, how it would sound.
And like I imagine with the voicing that's going on right now, if you change just one reed in the organ, you probably have to revoice every stop to make sure that they blend correctly. And so is that done inside the church, or can you do that in the workshop?
Both, actually. We do the pre-voicing here. And of course, yeah, you're right. Everything has to work together, like in a choir. You cannot have one singer who screams, when you want the choir to work well. So I think, so Alain Gonneau set, the pipe scales and for the new ranks, and gave instructions to the voicer about what to do with the existing ranks of pipes. So they all work together, on the same road, if I may say. They all work together to create something cohesive. Of course, here we will keep, the pipe work a bit on the shy side, if I may say, so make sure everything works, that from one note to the next, that we have the same quality of tone. But the real work is done on site. So when we're all done with the voicers, we'll spend many weeks in the room, to make sure the organ sounds as good as it can in the room.
And there's a story about the acoustic in this church and the organ. So when they refurbished the organ in 1983, it was, I think, for the Pope's visit at the time. So when the builders just finished their work, the parish decided to change the floor. Okay, so it was kind of a linoleum, and they installed the ceramic tiles. So it changes everything. If you change one material in the church, it affects all the acoustic, of course, and how the organ sounds. So it's really funny because we all found that the refurbished organ was a bit too loud in the church, actually. And because of that, that change, so because of the ceramic tiles, it just made the difference. So so the organ was screaming, and all the high-pitched sounds were too aggressive because of that. But at the same time, the ceramic tiles, it helps to have a bit of more reverb and have more sound reflecting in the church. I'm sure that the linoleum was maybe a bit too absorptive, that really absorbs the sound.
Responding to the many fine details that contribute to the sound of a pipe organ, be it linoleum floors or cedar ceilings or the shape of the church, falls under the purview of the craftspeople in the voicing department. To learn what's involved in the voicing process, we visit with head voicer Sébastien Kardos in a tuning room at the Saint-Hyacinthe workshop.
Maybe I can show you and explain all the steps, because here in my voicing room, this is the first step. of the voicing. There's 3 steps. The first step in the voicing room, we voice each stop separately. When I receive a pipe from the pipe maker department, there's almost no sounds. So my job is to create the appropriate sounds in relation with the stop pipe. First step, I have to cut the opening here that we call the mouth. I'll take my professional divider and just make a little mark. So it's like almost a dentistry work. If I open the small opening here, the windway, so if I open just a little bit, it will give more clarity. So, and if I open a little bit here, in the hole here in the feet, it's give just more volume. Okay, then after, okay, so still no sounds, almost. I'll take this little tubes and I will move the language. So when I move the language, the wind way, the direction of the wind, just change. Okay, so you'll hear. See? Now, to reach the pitch, I have to make a hole in the pipes to create the harmonic sound. So, about a hole about 3-4 millimeters. See, it changed. So now we have the flute effect that we want, and I want an attack, a very smooth attack. So just a little bit, I'll change a little bit the wind wave. For me, it's not, you know, we need some volume. If you compare to, just give some more volume. See? And then I have to tune also. And I have to retune maybe 2 or 3 minutes after, because you know I hold with my hand so that the pipes is, you know, with the heat of my hand, so it changes the tuning of the pipes.
You're listening to the FutureStops podcast, an initiative of the Royal Canadian College of Organists. My name is Blake Hargreaves, and I'm your host as we explore the world of the 21st century organ. We just heard today's feature piece, Denis Bédard's Rhapsody sur le nom de la voix, performed by Bédard on the Casavant organ at Notre Dame Basilica in Quebec City, an organ which is currently being restored by the firm. Casavant builds organs for churches and concert halls all over the world, but it's in Canada where we find some of their oldest, most famous instruments and most engaging current projects.
We're grateful to have, so much work in Canada, actually. People we always talk about, the new organs going to the US and Asia and this and that, but I must say we're really doing work in our country. We're restoring the 1929 Casavant organ at the Ascension of our Lord Church in Westmount. We're also doing restorative work on the 1926 Casavant, the parish church of Saint-Denis-sur-le-Richelieu, nearby. And we have completed the first phase of work at St. Joseph Cathedral, Edmonton. And finally, we have just completed the major rebuild and enlargement of the 1933 Casavant organ at St. Andrew's Wesley United Church in Vancouver. So we work coast to coast.
As a musician, I'm proud when I finish a pipe organ here in Quebec or in Canada or even in Asia or in the United States. I'm always proud at the end that, there's a little bit of me inside, but not only me, but all the team. And we always want that the instrument will stay maybe for 100 years.
The craft of building a pipe organ is an incredibly complicated enterprise. Until the Industrial Revolution, these instruments were the most complex creations ever made. The mixture of woodwork, leather crafting, metallurgical expertise, and sonic sensitivity is a smorgasbord of old-world steampunk-type eccentricity that provides endless interest and enjoyment and wonder. There's so much to talk about when it comes to the art of composing for the organ, the art of performance, accompanying liturgical events, and contemporary adventures in sound. And we covered a lot of this last season, and we will continue to. This season, we're happy to shine a bit more light up in the organ loft, in the intricate workings that produce the unrivaled acoustic experience of live pipe organ music. We'd like to thank our guests, Dany Wiseman, Sébastien Kardos, and Simon Couture from Casavant for joining us today. And thank you for listening to the episode. Join us on social media at FutureStops and FutureStops Podcast, where you can see photos of Casavant's incredible workshop and bring your voice to the conversation, telling us what excites you about pipe organ building. FutureStops is a podcast from the Royal Canadian College of Organists, produced by Andrew O'Connor, with Haley Raymond as community manager and executive producer Elizabeth Shannon. I'm your host, Blake Hargreaves.